Welcome into your Friday edition of the Aughts and Audibles podcast. I'm your host, Erik Skopil. Jared Mack riding shotgun today as Matt Preem remains on vacation. He'll be back, I think, for next Wednesday's podcast, I believe. So you'll have a couple more of without, I guess, Sans Matt here. But we're doing a 7-on-7 football draft. So we are going to do a snake draft. I have already won the toss. Neither of us had a coin around, but Jared was able to ask some automated voice in his apartment. I don't know who that was.
My Google machine.
Yeah, Jared's Google machine decided that my tails never fails won the toss, so I will start first. But we are doing this, and just so you understand the exercise, I thought this would be fun. This is like very much prime off-season content. We would not be doing this exercise like in.
There is no off-season.
Well, but we wouldn't be doing this in like October, like in like
we could.
Lead up to like UCLA game week. Let's do a 7-on-7 draft. But this is like, hey, we've got some fun. This is a fun exercise. Let's run through this. I think it'll be telling probably on like guys we prioritize in these situations. We are doing this. We had this discussion. We had quite a long discussion about what this actually was. Like, is this actual 7-on-7? Should we be prioritizing players who are good on 7-on-7 over players who are better on an 11-on-11 situations? This is 7-on-7 football. So we are drafting guys that would be good in a 7-on-7 environment. And we are drafting with the assumption that it would be some sort of formation like a quarterback. You got a running back. You got 4 players out wide. I have it written down as the snapper ball guy, who is basically an ineligible receiver who doesn't block, who just snaps the ball, flips the ball. That's the 7th offensive player. Probably going to be the Mr. Irrelevant picks, I imagine. Then you go defensively, a handful of corners or nickels, a couple deep safeties, and I don't know. We're debating about probably based upon who the other one picks. If we'll go linebacker, if we'll do 2 linebackers, kind of what that'll look like. But there's the basics. There's the 2-minute rundown on what the exercise is before we jump into it. I thought we should probably do that.
I do have a question. Are we going to select offense or defense first, or are we going to jump into everybody?
I think we should just be able to do whatever the heck we want, Jared. I think we should have whatever draft strategy we want is the one we should use here.
All right.
I think that'll add a little something to it because to me there are certain position groups I'm going to prioritize more heavily than others.
I would imagine.
So with the first overall pick of the 2022 DuckTerritory 7-on-7 Oregon football draft, quite a name. I'm happy the real NFL draft just happened because Jared and I were at a bar watching the first day, and I could not remember the jingle, but we've got it now. We've heard it so many times in the last week.
I'll make sure to do it on every single selection too.
Please do. First overall, I will take a quarterback, and I will take Bo Nix. I value the position. I think there's good depth at receiver. It is a snake draft, so you might stock up on some positions here that might leave me a little bit shorthanded. I just thought that there was a pretty significant differentiation between Nix and the other quarterbacks on the roster at this point. And if you took Nix, I was maybe going to not take a quarterback for a really long time. Probably the very last pick because I'm guessing you wouldn't take 2 quarterbacks. But
yes.
I with the first pick, that was going to be my sneaky strategy, by the way, was taking a quarterback.
That's interesting.
Last, but now I'm giving you that strategy. But no, I think Nix is the best quarterback. I don't know how close it is, and honestly, part of it is I didn't want to take the second quarterback because then I was left to be choosing between 2 guys that I think are pretty evenly matched, probably, and also I just think Nix is significantly probably further ahead. Although in a 7-on-7 setting, maybe some of his escapability, some of the stuff that makes him so good there is not quite as significant as it is on an 11-11 setting. But that's where I went. So I'm going Nix first overall. You now have 2 picks, Jared.
I do.
What are you doing?
With my first overall pick, I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon.
That was the other first overall pick I had in my mind because the corner depth is just not great.
Yeah, it's not great. For my second overall pick, I'm going to go and kind of even this out and take an offensive player. I'm going to go with give me Seven McGee.
Oh, I love
wide receiver, Oregon.
That's awesome.
You're up.
He would be incredible in a 7-on-7 environment.
Well, that's what we're going off of, which is why I'm interested to see your Bo Nix selection.
Well, I thought quarterback you take first because I do think there's a differentiation. I wanted to have the first quarterback, basically.
I feel like quarterbacking in 7-on-7 just isn't as important as it is in 11-on-11.
Well, I'm now going to take a non-quarterback because a stunner here. I'm not playing a 2-quarterback system.
You're not gonna slot Ty Thompson out wide.
Yeah, Ty Thompson out wide just to throw passes. No, probably won't do that. I'm going to take the other corner, and that's Dante Manning. I'm assuming as close to full health as you can expect.
Yeah, everybody is healthy in this scenario. Injuries are turned off.
Let's assume people are healthy here. I thought Manning had a really strong spring. I thought he and Gonzalez were clearly the 1-2 at corner, and as Jared showed with his number 2 over selection, there's you need good corners here. Oregon has good receivers, which I'm going to take one in a moment here, and the depth at corner. And I think this exercise will show the lack of depth because we're going to take guys probably not enrolled yet at some point here because you have to basically have 3 or 4 corners.
You have to. Yeah.
So and that's so there's going to be 6 to 8 corners selected in this draft, which is somewhat problematic when there's 6 on scholarship.
6 to 8 corners.
So there's that. I'm going to take Dante Thornton with my other pick here.
The 2 Dantes.
The 2 Dantes. Yeah, I went Dante heavy. Bo Nix and Dante heavy draft here. Dante Moore in a couple years, maybe. JK, LOL, no inside information. Just making a joke because the fan base is excited about him. You watch 7-on-7, and I think 7 McGee is really valuable for what he can do in terms of finding space. I also think you watch highlights, a lot of that's just jump balls, and Dante Thornton is maybe your best.
I was going back and forth with him in 7 because Dante Manning is 6'5" and can jump out of the gym, and he's perfect for 7-on-7. But 7, I think has his own strengths, which I think could help out my team eventually.
All right, what's your go 6 and 7, Jared?
So I have 6 and 7 right now. Let me cross off some people.
I mean, you don't want any repeat picks.
No, we do not. And you took Dante Manning. All right. With the 6th overall selection, Team Mack will pick their Dante Thornton stopper in Triquez Bridges.
Okay. Do you want him as where are we slotting him? Is he a corner? Is he a safety? Is that a conversation for another day? Does it matter to you?
Triquez is going to be my nickel safety.
All right. I like it. Yeah. That's a good spot. Even though in real football he won't be.
In real life, he's not.
Be playing there, to be clear, but I like it. I like it a lot. Go ahead.
With the 7th overall selection, this is a tough one. I'm going to match your jump ball. I'm going with Chase Cota.
Okay. He was high on my board as well.
Mm-hmm. He's really honestly only high on my board after the spring game, and seeing him actually go up and really go out and get passes.
I think it's a good pick. All right. Picks 8 and 9. The order of this doesn't matter. For one of my deep safeties, I'm picking Brian Addison.
Okay.
If we were playing 11-on-11 football, he might be not. He wouldn't be the first deep safety I'd pick, I don't think. Might be Triquez Bridges, who you've already taken. I watched Addison in a 7-on-7 environment when he was coming out of high school at the Elite 11 camp up in Portland, and he was the most impressive player on the field. And that was why when he signed with Oregon, I was like, this guy's going to be awesome. And then he played a position that wasn't the one I watched him play, because you saw the range and the length and all of that on full display when he was playing kind of that deep safety spot. So that's why I think there should be some optimism about what he can accomplish back there. I know we're recording this probably about a day after when Damon David announced his transfer, and there was a lot of people who were frustrated and disappointed with that and questioning kind of where the position's at. I think I'll address that right now, I guess, just briefly while we're doing this. I think those are reasonable concerns, but I also think you look at the way the safety position kind of developed. I mean, I have to note David was out all spring with injury and barely played last fall because of injury. But I thought the 2 players we just drafted, who are both safeties now, Bridges and Addison, really emerged. I thought J.J. Greenfield really emerged. Bennett Williams is back. Steve Stevens is also with the team still. That's 5 highly regarded safety. I mean, Bennett's kind of a hybrid, but that's a lot of guys. So I understood why Damon David left. I think that move probably hurts Oregon more in 23 and beyond than 2022, if I'm honest. I don't know how much David was going to help right away.
Well, I think people forget that about Steve Stevens because he was injured and because he didn't play during spring camp. Kind of a similar thing with David. And honestly, we're basing all of our information on how good Damon David could be off of, stuff that we heard from the coaching staff from last fall. So that's 9 months ago at this point. So, and we rarely got to see him play. He played against Colorado and was hurt, and then he played against Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl and was hurt. Didn't play all spring camp. Depth is not the greatest thing. If a season as like last year happens, which is
Sure.
an anomaly, a statistical anomaly for this program, then there's some concern. But I think there might be concern in more other places than in that case. Maybe it's like whatever is in the water in Eugene in the last couple of years. But I think depth could potentially be a concern. But I don't think the loss, like Erik, like you just said, I don't think the loss is that big for this season, but in 23 and beyond, sure, I could see that potentially becoming something. But we still have to see what Damon David turns into as a player at his next respective school.
Yeah, like the player, I just wanted to address it because it happened yesterday. I thought it was notable. And also one of the, by the way, I know I've already written down my 9th pick. I'll get to in a minute. One of the things I want to do on this podcast is we'll do the draft, but also kind of intersperse some dialogue on some other things because I think there's some transfer stuff we can get to in terms of players coming in because one of the guys might be someone we take that just announced a transfer who we have not addressed on the podcast. So anyway, my 9th pick, Troy Franklin. I guess I'm going with the skinnies. I like my receiver core right now. I like my offense a lot. I think I've got arguably the best quarterback and maybe the 2 best receivers in an 11-on-11 environment, and 7-on-7 maybe a little different. But I kind of think my offense is coming together here. Your secondary is maybe just a touch better because I think Gonzalez is the best corner on the team by a decent margin. Anyway, all right. You've got 10 and 11.
I have 10 and 11. Okay. These are tough. All right, I got it. We're going to go Bennett Williams as a safety.
Okay.
And my second, third round pick, Terrence Ferguson, tight end.
Oh,
Oregon.
I like it.
Another just elite 7-on-7 dude. He's a 6'6" wide receiver at the end of the day.
Yep.
And that really works in 7-on-7. You're up.
Yeah, those are good picks. This is hard because I know what position I want to address. I don't feel super confident who the best selection is, and we're now at corner.
Yep.
So I might do this thing where I just take 2 corners right now and figure they're going to be that I now have the advantage of numbers over you. So I'm going to take Avante Dickerson 12th.
Okay, good pick.
And I'm going to take Jaleel Florence 13th.
That's fine.
Again, this exercise I think will show and again, we have to be clear. This is 7-on-7. This is a fun exercise. This is not simulating real football. And maybe that creates a larger discussion about 7-on-7's impacts on 11-on-11, like actual college football. If you wanted to have one, I don't know if we're going to have that on the show. But what this exercise is showing, I think both of us, is that obviously corner and that kind of the secondary is highlighted in 7-on-7. And Oregon as a team, their biggest weakness is there. And so as Jared's going to be stuck with, because I just have 3 of the top 4 corners probably, it gets a little mucky after this corner spot. The other thing is, I don't have to worry about corner forever because I've already used all my corner picks. So
True. I did need to take a corner. Maybe this is where I coach and I change Bridges to a corner, but no. That's not.
You can do that. I can move his name.
I feel like if I did that, that should cost me a turn. So I won't, and I'll take Jaleel Tucker.
All right.
I'll go the other Jaleel, and I will assume that he will that he'll be good.
We haven't seen him.
Because we haven't seen him, and he won't be here until July. But Jaleel, welcome to 7-on-7 Odds and Audibles team Mack. So let's go beat Team Skopil. I think you have 2.
Oh no, I thought you just took 14. Do you have 15? Am I wrong?
You just took 2. I just took. Yeah. Sorry, I have 2 this term. Oh, I like this. This is an interesting one.
Yeah. I'm curious what you're going to do.
I'm also curious as what I'm going to do.
Great spot to be.
Yeah, this is interesting because now it becomes more of like, what's our philosophy overall? And
Which we're not 7-on-7 coaches, and we really don't know
we're
what
not
the
at all.
philosophy is. So
no, not one bit. Let's see. I think it's time. I think I'm going to do it. With what is this? My second pick of the 4th round. I am taking Jeffrey Bassa as my lone linebacker.
Pick. That was my top linebacker on my board as well in this particular setting.
Yeah, that's easily the top linebacker there. Yeah. Then now it's an interesting one that we have now.
Okay. I'm gonna load up at receiver and take Chris Hudson.
Yep, I thought about it.
I think I might have 3 of who I would argue I might have the 3 leaders in receiving yards this season for Oregon, and Thornton, Franklin, and Hudson. Like I could make an argument that could happen.
That's fine. Yeah.
I don't know in a 7. I think Hudson in a 7-on-7 would be potentially pretty dynamic, similar ways that 7 McGee would be. So that's why I took him there. It's also like kind of telling that he was the 5th receiver we took here. Which, if you were like, if this exercise was pre-spring, he would have been higher for sure. Like he might have been the 2nd or 3rd receiver we took. Instead, we had Thornton, Franklin, and Coda ahead of him. I'm gonna take Byron Cardwell. I'm gonna take a running back.
I was just gonna ask, what is your philosophy on running backs here? Because I thought about taking one of them before, maybe not the one that you would expect, but I didn't know.
My strategy is in 7-on-7. Sometimes there isn't a running back on the field, so we might be kind of doing this wrong. It was also that we saw Cardwell in spring flexed out wide as a receiver a little bit. And so I'm kind of operating with a bit like that he can do that a little bit. And again, this exercise is pretty flawed in terms of like simulating real football. So, which is why it's kind of like we wanted to, if it would be a weird exercise if it was a quarterback and like 5 wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like it feels like you have to have a running back in there. I didn't think we needed to take one early, but because you hadn't taken that's the only position that you hadn't addressed that that neither of us had addressed. So I decided I'll take the first one. So I think Cardwell's got value there as a pass catcher. I know we didn't see that really at all last year. I don't have his stats in front of me, but I don't think he caught more than a handful of balls. I do think that's something that we could see change this year based upon what we saw in spring. Like I said earlier, there were a couple instances in spring practice that we saw him like flexed out wide running like receiver type routes, like not just like wheel routes, like out patterns and stuff. And we saw Sean Dollars in a similar manner not flexed out, but utilized in the passing game. So I think the running back position in Oregon's real offense, coached by Kenny Dillingham, not Erik Skopil, will utilize the running back a lot. So in my mind, Kenny's coaching this 7-on-7 team as well, and he's going to drop fun plays.
In my mind, yep.
All right.
Running backs. I don't know. I got 2 picks here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny where some of like the star players are on my board right now. It's just they're not very high.
Well, there's like arguably Oregon's best overall player has not been taken, and I don't know if I'm going to take him. If we're doing 7-on-7.
I don't think I am either.
No, we're not. I'm pretty sure I'm not. So,
with my 5th round, my first pick of the 5th round, I will take Jamal Hill.
That was the other player I was looking at. So, schematically, is he a deep safety for you, or is Triquez, or what are you doing here?
That's a good point. I think we're going to convert Triquez to a deep safety.
All right. I'm making the shift on my little notepad here.
Okay.
I like the pick. That was honestly I debated if I wanted to do that, but I decided to take a running back, even though I don't know if there's as much value there.
All right. I'm going to go with, this is a project pick, but I do need another wide receiver here. I'm going to go with Isaiah Braybarn.
I kind of thought you might, when you said I like that.
It was either him or Justice Lowe, but I think Braybarn is a little more physically developed, and I think he could, break away from the hand tackles that are 7-on-7 football and getting out of breaks and doing that. So, yeah, I think that's the choice. It was a tough one because once you go past like the first 5 or 6 wide receivers for Oregon, it's a lot of question marks, which is okay.
I think Braybarn would be really fun in a 7-on-7 here in terms of some of what maybe keeps him off the field is lack of physical development, but you can just jump ball with him.
I kind of want to completely change my pick. Is it too late? I think it's too late. It's too late.
Okay. I have to take a safety here. I think. I guess you might not take. You probably won't take another one since you took all the safeties.
I'm done.
But to avoid you, you could really back me into a corner, and I'd have I don't want to throw a walk-on under the bus, but I'd have a walk-on. I'm not even going to say a name. I was going to throw a name out there. That's kind of mean. I'm going to take Steve Stevens as my second deep safety with pick 20. I really like the player. I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard to know where he's at for the real team at this point, just because he was out for parts of the spring and the depth chart was sort of hard to factor in because I don't know how much 11-on-11 we watch and take part in. But he started 8 games last year. He's certainly capable. I think 7-on-7 might not be great to his strengths because I think he's probably a little better on rundowns, and there's a possibility athletically he's a bit challenged. But I think he and Addison could maybe help shore up some of those shortcomings.
Right.
Now I have to take a nickel.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said earlier, I might be backed into a bit of a corner here. Yeah, I think you've forced me to really. I think I've got the advantage at corner. I know I've got the advantage probably on all the offensive positions here. But Jared, boy, I might have to take somebody here and get really creative. And you took Bossa, who is the guy who would be in theory creative enough to move around.
Yes.
At nickel.
Yes.
So I just joked about it, but I might have to do it. No, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take.
I wouldn't even do that. Well, actually, I don't know which one you're talking about because there's 2 potential best players on the roster sitting down here still.
Yeah, I know, and I'm trying to think schematically of what Tosh Lupoy would do with his visor on for putting.
But you're not Tosh. This isn't Tosh Lupoy's team. This is Erik Skopil's team.
I know.
Baby.
Well, I know. I'm trying to think. I think I want to have a little more versatility and not have 2 linebackers here. But I think I kind of almost have to do that, or I have to take a kid who hasn't enrolled yet, who I don't think is going to be much of a factor this year. Which again gets to the fact this actually says Trey John Williams was the other person I'm thinking of. I'm not going to do that.
Interesting.
I'm going to take Justin Flo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough there. I kind of backed myself into the corner a little bit.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine.
I mean, I shouldn't be complaining that I have Justin Flo on my team, period. So I'm going to celebrate that I've got him because he's awesome. And again, we're assuming full health.
Yes, we are. We are definitely assuming full health. All right, I'm going to finish off my defense here.
Okay, I figured you had to.
We're going to take another safety.
Okay.
We're going to do JJ Greenfield.
I like it.
And then.
So you've got. So he's one of these. Is Bridges now at corner? I'm so confused what you're doing here. You've got
I've got 4 safeties, 2 corners, and a linebacker.
Yeah. We have very different defensive formations because I have 3 corners. I'm probably going to have 2 linebackers and 2 safeties. So we're playing different games here.
I just figured 7-on-7 is a game where you got to cover ground and you got to have some ball hawks and you got to have people who can partially defend man to man, but not really. Just play a bunch of zones. Gosh, offense. Oh, that's right. Let's see. What do I have here?
I mean, you could take your snapper guy right now. I mean, I wouldn't hold against you.
We're doing 6 offensive players plus snapper guy.
We are. Yeah.
Okay. So I still have.
You have 3 offensive players. Quick.
Yeah. I'm going to go Kyler Casper.
Okay. And you're not going to have a running back?
No running backs.
Okay. We're playing. Yeah, you're pushing the envelope for what the formations will be here, but I kind of like it. And honestly, it's a good move considering my lack of coverage players here.
Well, you mentioned how sometimes in 7-on-7 they don't even have a running back on the field, and it's like why would I draft somebody who's going to be on the field 40% of the time?
It's true. Okay. Because you don't have a running back, I probably don't need to. I'm going to assume Flo is going to cover Ferguson just fine. I'll have Manning and Dickerson and Florence covering your 3 receivers that you first picked. I think I have to pick Kamari Terrell now. So we really are getting into the weeds here with guys that haven't enrolled, who we don't know. Track speed guy. You also picked track speed. We both picked players who haven't enrolled here. So I'll have one guy who hasn't enrolled, card your guy who hasn't enrolled, and
I have 2 guys who haven't enrolled.
Well, but I'll have
on offense and defense.
So it'll be an unenrolled player matchup.
Excellent.
We'll see how that goes. I have 1 pick left, and it's the tight end or receiver spot. You took Casper, and that makes the pick for receiver even a little more tough. I could go Crocker or Delgado or Lowe. But I think Mataval would give Bossa some trouble with his height, so I'm going to take Maliki. That's my last.
That's fine. I'll put Jamal Hill on him and have a day.
Okay. All right. You like Jamal there?
I do.
So who's Bossa covering? Cardwell?
I don't know who Bossa will cover.
All right.
Probably
anyway,
Cardwell.
I like how we're getting into I'm really getting into like what's the one-on-one
coaching aspect.
I think that's never going to happen. Yeah.
Coach Dillingham, if you're listening, let us run some. In the summer, of course, because we got to wait for some of these players.
Yeah, Coach Lanning, let's put this to work. Let's put this.
I don't see why not.
Let's do this. If anybody listening, it'll never happen because it's dangerous and silly. But not even that dangerous. It's 7-on-7, but I know it'll never happen. But all right, you've got to pick a quarterback and a snapper guy, and I have 1 snapper guy to pick as well.
Yes, I'm going Ty Thompson with my last pick
over Jay. Why?
Over Jay, I think Ty, taking out the element of needing to make real decision reads in 11-on-11 is going to benefit him a lot. I mean, there's a reason he shot up in the rankings so much in his junior and his senior season of high school. He was obviously very, very good in high school, but those 7-on-7 camps in the summer, he was dominant in. That's why everybody kind of drooled over what the potential he could be. And that still is the case for him, honestly. With him or Jay, I just like Ty more. I think it just comes down to that. I like his physical intangibles, his like natural stuff more than I like what Jay has.
You pick Ty, you think, as the backup still?
In an 11-on-11?
In real world football, in like the real game?
Yeah, I think I still do, just because I think Ty's potential is way higher than Jay's is. I think Jay could be a good starting quarterback in a Power 5 conference, but I think Ty could still grow into an elite quarterback in a Power 5 conference. I just think his natural, like, I don't want to say it, but like his God-given abilities are much higher than Jay's, and probably higher than Bo Nix's. He's just like, his potential is through the roof. He's had a hard time even getting there and making reads, and that's why he was a 5-star, because of his potential, which is a funny thing to say, but it's like officially official. But What
was the line that draft expert used when the Raptors took Bruno Caboclo? It was like,
he's 2 years away from 2 years away,
something like that. And that's in jest, but like that's what this pick is. That's what Ty Thompson is a little bit away maybe from reaching that.
In real life football, yeah. But 7-on-7, I'm taking him.
Okay.
I think he can thread the needles there.
All right, you got to pick a snapper guy.
Okay, all right. My snapper guy is the ghost of Kai Arneson.
Oh no. He's at Nevada. You can't do this. Now our 7-on-7 will never get played for real because
No, but it's the ghost. So we'll just have like, I don't know. I'm sure Oregon has an automated machine that snaps a football, or if not, I'm sure they could call someone who can do it. So yeah, it goes to Kai Arneson.
you can't just. The podcast listenership has no idea who that is. Probably, can you explain? Or they might know who he is, but they might not understand the significance of why he's two of our favorite players.
Of course. So Kai Arneson was a walk-on center last year. He was probably third string, fourth string until some injuries.
I think third if they really needed it. Maybe. I mean, probably. I think they'd probably put Powers Johnson out there before him, probably in real.
Oh, definitely, yeah, 100%. Arneson was a serviceable center. How about that?
Yeah,
he's so serviceable that he followed linebacking coach Ken Wilson to his new head coaching job at Nevada, and it's Nevada, not Nevada, whatever other people say. Over to Nevada, got a scholarship. The reason why we're such big fans of his is he is just like a fictitious character. He's 6'5" or 6'4". He's offensive lineman, big guy, long hair, big glasses.
Yep.
Like a skiing cap on his head all the time. He's just my favorite looking character on the Oregon football show that was last year. So we created nicknames for his fan club, like Arnie's Army, which was my favorite. I actually stumbled upon them in one of my books the other day. I don't remember what the other ones were, but Arnie's Army is the best. I had some more fan club names. I can't remember them right now, but
yeah. What were they?
I'm still sad about Kai Arneson transferring. DuckTerritory favorite, but we wish him the best of luck, and that's why I thought it was appropriate to have his ghost snapping for my 7-on-7 team.
But also always smiling and seemingly like just kind of in a really good mood all the time, which was not always the
happy
case.
Camper.
Everybody, maybe Cobra Kai, because that's actually his name. First name spelled. We've now done 3 minutes on Kai Arneson, who's not even on the team. So go us. My snapper guy here. I like that you chose somebody who has a history of snapping because I was going to do the same thing.
Good.
Because I think it's important. We're talking real football here. I think it's important to have somebody who can turn and flip the ball to the quarterback effectively with confidence. So I'm taking backup long snapper, walk on Luke Basso.
Oh, Luke.
Carson Battles. I probably should have taken him. He has a mullet like me. We're kind of mullet brothers, but I go with Basso because I wanted to introduce the fan base to his name because after James Crepit and I of the Oregonian we're really high on the backup snapper here. We expect this is the name to know in 23 and beyond as two guys who actually kind of care about the special team stuff. So I thought I'd introduce a name that might be relevant rather than introduce a name that's not at all relevant, like my colleague.
Come on. Who was your backup snapper person?
Like who would my next one have been?
Yeah. You didn't have two?
I would no, I did. I was going to be pretty boring and just go Alex Forsyth because he's. I'm a big fan of Alex Forsyth, and he's probably the best person to snap a football. But again, this is not really snapping a football because it's not like those who haven't watched 7-on-7. Usually, it's a kid. I call it snapper guy because it's not a center, and it's not he's not eligible to receive to catch the pass in most formats that I've seen of 7-on-7. So he basically just turns and flips the ball to the quarterback, and so I call him the snapper guy. Probably could be the ball flipper guy too. We can change the title.
I like ball flipper too.
So we're kind of having fun with that because we went full 7-on-7 here, which I hope this show's been like lighthearted and enjoyable because that's kind of what this time of year is. Should we do a draft recap?
Sure. I was going to mention my second snapper.
Oh, hit me with that.
Oh, AJ Abbott. Because that's the closest I'll ever get to a football.
Walk on full string quarterback, and another great head of hair.
Yeah, good lettuce.
All right, I'm gonna run through my offense, then run through your offense. I just realized for your offense, if you wanted to have someone in the backfield, you have Seven McGee, so you've got some versatility. So nice pick there.
Thanks. That's exactly what I was going for.
No, you were big brain in it. I'm going. So I'm not going. I've already drafted my players, so there's no need to draft any players. No need to go
round 8. Yeah.
here's we're gonna keep going. We got to have a depth chart. We got to have guys off the bench because we really want to get into the walk-ons of the world here. Okay, so I have Bo Nix at quarterback, Byron Cardwell at running back, Dante Thornton, Troy Franklin, Chris Hudson, at receiver with Maliki Mataval at tight end. Ball flipper guy, we're going Luke Boss, so I've decided to change the name officially.
Okay.
At corner, Dante Manning, Avante Dickerson, Jaleel Florence. I've also taken Kamari Terrell, so I've got 4 corners here, 2 of which are true freshmen. They're all really young, but Oregon doesn't have a lot of experience here at corner. I've got Justin Flo as my middle linebacker and Brian Addison and Steve Stevens as my deep safeties. Jared's team, Ty Thompson, Seven McGee as your running back receiver hybrid, or just a receiver. You can
probably just a receiver.
He's going 4 wide. And you want 4 wide, which is why I want 4 corners. Receivers, you've got Chase Cota, Isaiah Braybarn, Kyler Crasper, tight end Terrence Ferguson, the ghost of Kai Arneson as your ball flipper guy.
Yep.
Which is great. I mean, we kind of were saying it was somebody on the team, but I'll put in parentheses.
He's there in spirit.
Yeah, he's there in spirit. Okay, your defense, you've got Christian Gonzalez, Jaleel Tucker, JJ Greenfield, Triquez Bridges, Jeffrey Bassa, Bennett Williams, Jamal Hill. You and I have very different fundamental formations and concepts here of I kind of went by the book, but I also was the one who came up with the formations of what they should be. So I went pretty strictly offensively: quarterback, running back, 3 receivers, a tight end, a ball flipper guy. Defensively, I did do a little bit of an alteration. I went 4 corners. Justin Flo is my guy to cover stuff in the middle of the field, or Ferguson with 2 deep safeties. I really like the Brian Addison pick in 7-on-7. I'm going to reiterate that. You went quarterback, 4 receivers, tight end, your ball flipper guy. You went basically 2 traditional corners.
2 corners.
4 safeties and a linebacker, and Boss is even kind of hybridy too. So you really went 2 corners and 5 versatile bodies, which is probably a pretty good strategy if you're.
I told you I was gonna go 2-5. Just didn't know which 2-5 I was gonna go.
Yeah. You initially we had talked about maybe going 2 linebackers.
Yeah, but I thought, to hell with it.
So we didn't pick Noah Sewell.
Let's go through who we didn't pick.
Which is a little bit offensively. We kind of have everybody on the roster, to be totally honest. I mean, if we want to do a quick Bucky Irving,
no dollars.
Do we want to do a quick just opinions on Bucky Irving, since we're still got a couple minutes here to fill out probably on the show, and we didn't pick him, but that was a player that Oregon added in the portal that we haven't talked about. I'm pretty high on the player. Do you want to give some opinions on what you've seen on him, Jared?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's a very serviceable running back. I think it was needed. Jordan James, running back commit from Georgia, 4-star commit. He comes in during the summer, but to get an established guy to now have, 5 scholarship running backs, which is absurd compared to where they were 2 months ago, I would say.
A month ago,
sure. Impressive. And this is somebody who racked up over 600 yards at Minnesota. You watch some of his highlights, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Erik, I think you mentioned that he runs similar to Travis Dye.
Yeah, a little that.
Yeah, so he's a pass catcher. He's bigger and heavier than Dye is, but they kind of run similar. They do the same things on offense. They're both pretty hard to take down, and what it looked like from Irving's highlights. I like it. This is a great backup to maybe a backup or a great 3rd string running back. I still think it's Cardwell and Dollars 1-2, but having Whittington, Irving, and Jordan James as your 3, 4, 5 in whatever order they end up being, that's pretty darn good for a team that really had Dollars, Cardwell, and Aaron Smith and Jordan James eventually coming like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I did want to touch on that just because it is a position that has really transformed itself over the last month or so. As we said, I think Irving has a chance to. I think he'll challenge Dollars possibly to be the 2 guy. I mean, you kind of look at the recruiting profile. He and Cardwell were like almost identical in terms of rankings. I mean, Cardwell was 7 spots higher in the total in the overall 247 Sports rankings and 1 running back spot above. So this is somebody who's comparable coming out of high school, and Irving produced more yardage. I know he had greater opportunity than Cardwell did, especially early on in the season. Both kind of similar spots, though, where both teams lost their top running back really pretty early on in the year. It was Muhammad, I think, is the last name of the kid at Minnesota who went down against Ohio State in the season opener with a knee injury. sort of similar. Both teams losing running backs really early on in the season, and young guys giving an opportunity to play. So some similarities in terms of how they've gotten there. So I think he'll challenge to try to play quite a bit, and I think he'll be in the rotation. I like the addition a lot.
Certainly. He's also a guy who has 4 years of eligibility at this point, probably
Yeah,
3.
I think he's got 3 years. Same thing with Whittington. Like the guys that they've added,
it's not just a grad transfer or something like that.
No, and that's the cool thing with that's one that we can talk. We can go really long podcast if we wanted to, just on all portal talk. But like, it's a cool thing hypothetically, and not hypothetically, but in reality with some of this stuff is that you do get guys who aren't just like 1-year fill-ins like it used to be in college basketball, particularly. Like you look at Oregon men's basketball teams or women's basketball teams, and it would be just like this person's here for a year to fill in, or even like a Vernon Adams at quarterback or a Dakota Prukop at quarterback. 1-year guys. I know. Sorry, Oregon for bringing him. But this is a guy. These are guys now, both Whittington and Irving, who could contribute for like 3 years and potentially be guys that are playing a lot of snaps down the stretch. I think we've covered everything else at quarterback, receiver. I kind of think Spencer Webb, sneaky, would have been maybe just as good as Matavao in a 7-on-7 setting, by the way, like in terms of just being big and athletic and being good as a receiver. Because you're not looking at blocking here at all, and that's terrible.
No.
I shouldn't say.
I had Patrick Herbert at the same level as Spencer Webb in terms of a 7-on-7 player.
I mean, again, he's also somebody who I don't know if I trust as a blocker. And Herbert is, because of injury, I have very little knowledge of what he is compared to, like, he's in the kind of the same ballpark as like a Jaleel Florence, where it's like I feel like I've seen so little of him that I didn't even really consider him, to be totally honest, because I just felt
I had him as my 3rd tight end on my big board.
All right. Defensively, we took every corner on the roster. So
no, we didn't take David Beckham
or Darren Barkins.
Or Barkins, yeah.
Barkins was not taken. Defensive line and offensive line, we didn't take anybody, but that was by design. And we should. I mean, like when we were coming up with this exercise, we thought the offensive line it's pretty thin. The defensive line has a lot of guys, but it's really hard to pick and choose right now because we didn't really get a feel for the hierarchy because everybody was hurt. Not everybody, but the three key guys are out. So we kind of decided to eliminate that. Plus, it would have been an extra, I don't know, 10 minutes.
30 minutes.
10, 20. Yeah, I don't know, something. It would have been longer. Linebacker, we didn't take Noah Sewell, and that was your best football player probably on the entire team in 11-on-11. I think 7-on-7, I don't know if he's that valuable, to be honest. I didn't even really blink twice when I decided to take Flo. I think Flo, a healthy Flo, and I know Matt will listen to this and he'll be rolling in his proverbial grave. I know he has not died. That's not why he's been absent, but he will be frustrated because he loves obviously Sewell and is kind of questioning some of the Flo stuff. But I think Flo healthy, best case scenario. Sorry, I had a little bit of a thing in my throat there. It is really exciting. So I didn't have much, but like no Sewell, is that like you were like probably like me with like he's not a great in pass coverage guy, and 7-on-7 doesn't fit his skill set because he's not going to come up and thump a guy because it's 2-hand touch anyway.
Right. I have him 15th on my big board, which behind the likes of J.J. Greenfield, Kamari Terrell, Darren Barkins, Steve Stevens, Flo, Dickerson. It's just not a 7-on-7 guy.
You know who I almost had?
As simple as that.
You know who I almost had ahead, who I probably would have had, honestly, if I would have been forced to it? I think Devin Jackson would have been an awesome pick here with the speed and athleticism.
I have Devin Jackson at 16. I had him one behind Noah.
And I think Harrison Taggart as well, with those same kind of physical attributes, is kind of a hybrid player, would have been interesting here. But so that kind of
I took Harrison Taggart off my big board and added Adrian Jackson.
Another guy that's a good pick. Yeah, those three guys, if you're talking 7-on-7, are probably just better than Sewell is in that sort of a setting. And I know they're probably fans who don't quite get the point we're making, but like he's 260 pounds. These guys are 210, 225 pounds. And you're talking about covering
Max.
Yeah, and you're talking about covering guys like Flo is going to be at a disadvantage covering most of the guys that are on your team in terms of the athletic profile.
If I throw Seven McGee across the middle, you're done.
It's going to be hard for Flo to stick to
yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard for Bassa for some of these guys too, and he's a converted safety.
Right.
So that's why we both went defensive back heavy.
That's the rub. I think we took
10.
Yeah, there's not really any safeties or corners left to even discuss as far as I'm concerned.
It's just Barkins,
Trey John Williams. Should I have taken? I'm now going. Should I have taken Darren Barkins over Kamari Terrell? Possibly, probably, but
I just think.
But we're talking speed and athleticism, and they're both really fast and really athletic. Yeah. So I feel like it's a wash. So maybe I'm.
But I'll take
critical.
I think I would have taken Kamari as well. I had him higher on my big board. I think I would have taken him just because he's a bigger person.
That's fair.
A bigger human being. Barkins is like, and the other thing about 7 out of 7, it's a lot of contact. It really is, but not like I'm gonna hit you contact. It's hand fighting. It's who's stronger. Who has stronger arms type of deal, who's a bigger body. And that's where I think Darren Barkins might get hurt.
Okay.
Not physically hurt, but hurt in pass coverage.
I mean, we saw Byron Cardwell like basically shove him 20 yards down the field on a like a go route and to create separation for a pass that wasn't flagged. But
another guy that we didn't even discuss, Jackson LeDuc.
Yeah, it's another good option. Yeah, true.
Yeah, not another guy who I'm not sure about in pass coverage.
Well, I know that's kind of, it's like if I'm picking between, you took
between Sewell and LeDuc, I'd pick Sewell, but
I agree. I once you took Bossa off the board, I was basically going Flo or one of these freshmen who's really fast is where my head went for this particular exercise. Parting thoughts. Do we have anything else to add here? I mean, we've got a good chunk of time spent here. We didn't take that middle break, which I know I was instructed it was important to put a middle break in there. Sorry, guys. Sorry, advertisers. We'll just have to put an extra one in the back end now.
No Donovan Dalton reference.
Yeah. Thought of him, but could be an interesting guy. I mean, the size and length, maybe he would have been
6'4" safety.
Would have been fun back here with Addison on my team or on the back end for you. But I just think Steve Stevens is a better player. So I didn't pause too much there. I think I think this exercise showed a couple of things. It showed that there's enough depth at safety. Enough. I'm not saying it's the best it could be. I think Damon David is a guy who, if he was with the team still, I would have taken somewhere potentially. Probably I would have taken him over Terrell. I think in that spot just because he'd have a little more versatility. Because I don't love having 4 true corners, a linebacker and 2 deep safeties. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'd like to have a little more versatility for some of the bigger bodies, especially because you do have 4 big bodies that you've used out wide with Casper, Coda, Brevard, and Ferguson. So don't necessarily love that, but
we play matchups here.
Yeah, we're playing matchups off each other. I think that kind of brings it to a conclusion. We said at the top, Matt will be back middle of next week. I'm going to do a mailbag on Monday. So submit your questions. I'll put a prompt up probably Saturday or Sunday as well. Want to get those going again. I know the fans are big fans of the mailbag. It's one of our favorite things too. So send those in. You can use the hashtag Odds and Audibles. I'll put a prompt out on Twitter. Plenty of content coming up here. Baseball, softball teams are playing big series. We had a preview show on Wednesday. Talked a little bit about that. Transfer portal, who knows? Could be more stuff. You never. I haven't discounted.
I have no idea
what we recorded. 12 guys could have transferred. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a joke. Don't quote me on that. But we're kind of in that time of year here where the rosters remain slightly in flux. News breaks, and we'll be around at DuckTerritory.com to break it down. And if there is need for an emergency podcast, Jared and I might record one over the weekend, but we, as of right now, aren't expecting anything newsy enough to do so. So thank you for listening to this Friday edition of the Odds and Audibles podcast, the premiere, the debut 2022 Duck Territory 7-on-7 Oregon football draft. Thank you for listening, folks, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Peace.